Today is Tuesday, September the 4th, 2012. I did it! I got worried that I didn't do it right. I'm Matthew TG.
I'm Heath Mullican.
And I'm Tony Casey. Hey, welcome to the Technology Show, a weekly podcast featuring technology, theology, and everything in between. This is episode 170.
Woohoo!
And this is the first Tuesday episode of the Technology Show.
Yeah, in the new studio. We're going to talk more about that later. First, let's plow forward here. We've got two book giveaways that we announced last week. We do have our winners. So, Matthew, who won these?
Heath actually has that.
Heath's got it.
We're giving away, we had a great guest last week, Mark Waltz from Granger Community Church. We're giving away his book, First Impressions. And the winner of that book is, all the way from Michigan, Jeremiah Clements, and we'll be getting that book out to you. And then we're giving away a second book that Mark wrote, How to Wow Your Church Guests, and the winner of that is Duke Divinity School's own Seth Cotton. Yeah. So guys, we'll be getting your information and getting those books out to you. And as Matthew said, if you're watching live right now, right below the video, you can go and you can enter to win just for you, because we love you, our viewers, our live viewers. You can enter to win a $20 Amazon gift certificate, which is good forever.
So just comment down there. You got good chances so far, it looks like, but we'll wait to the end of the show to give that one away. So right down there, it says $20 gift card to Amazon.com. Put your name there. We'll talk about it again before everything's done.
All right, Heath, let's talk about our guest today.
Our guest with us today is John Saddington. He's been an engineer for JnJ and Dell, as well as an executive and a leader for Fox and Newscorp. He now leads his own teams that explore the art of digital publishing and the science of human capital. He writes for several blogs and started TentBlogger to teach others how to create a great blog. He and his wife, Sue, who he just celebrated his 7th anniversary with yesterday, live in Atlanta with their daughters, Roenne and Arden. John, thank you so much for being with us today.
Hey, thanks for allowing me to hang out with you guys.
Let's talk first about TentBlogger. Now, being a Christian, I understand kind of the reference, Paul talks about in the New Testament being a tent maker. But what was your inspiration to do a blog about blogging and to show people how they can make money doing it?
The inspiration wasn't too incredible, and certainly didn't have any flash of lightning or any burning bush. But I've been blogging and writing since 2001, and I will continue to do so as long as I can. And I just thought there must be a way where I can help other people like myself who are perhaps in ministry or perhaps in some full-time vocation, but that isn't paying the full-time bills. And there must be a way where I can bridge that gap, add a little bit of my kind of cultural and spiritual background to it, and provide a lot of value for people. And so TentBlogger was the inspiration. I came up with that word, obviously with the connotation toward Paul and tent making, and it seemed to have stuck. It seemed to have resounded with a lot of readers and community members and people who were first interfacing with the site, and it made a lot of sense. This is a way, blogging is a way and an avenue, a channel of making a little bit of income to perhaps pay for another pair of diapers or perhaps a date with my wife, because I'm a seminary student who can't afford really anything. And so that was the inspiration, if you want to call it that.
Now, you've been posting your actual income reports on the blog. What's been the response to that, and have people been amazed, like, what in the world?
Like anything, a little bit risky. I've had some interesting comments, both on the positive and the negative side.
Right.
For sure, my entire income statement is not posted on my blog,
right.
But I wanted to provide a realistic depiction what it might look like to earn an income on a blog. I'm not earning six figures. I'm not a six-figure blogger, so to speak. I don't make incredible loads of cash, but I do make some. And my goal was to really remove the veil or mystique around online publishing and profiting from it. There are a lot of people who have seen a number of blogs who say it's really easy, just follow this formulaic process or step, or there's some who will buy an ebook here and there and say, hey, if you only do these things, then this will happen, or it'll only take X amount of time. But the reality is, making money blogging it's just like anything else. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, and striking it rich, so to speak, or striking it gold that can be very, very lucky. It can be few and far between. And so I just wanted to provide a very transparent look at saying this is work. Some of you might reach this type of income. Some of you might not, and that's okay. Being a tent blogger means that you're in transition. You're in a process, and you're experimenting.
Wow.
John, I wonder, I kind of want to go off script here. One of the things that we've talked about with this show is how the internet is a game changer, and I just kind of want to get your thoughts on this. But we've said before that there's no way that we could have ever done this show if we would have had to use a model that was done 10, 20, 30 years ago, because you had producers you had to go through, you had to find people that would market that show. The internet just has kind of changed everything in that there are just hoops we don't have to jump through.
Yeah, absolutely. If anything, the internet has really democratized a lot of the tools and the assets and resources that typically the ones who had more wealth could be able to execute upon. And I love that idea. I love how anyone who has an idea, who has, whether it's good or not, and there are bad ideas out there for sure, can showcase those and attempt to do something that they had hoped on doing. And the great thing is that there are some great ideas that never get exposure, unfortunately, and there's some bad ideas who get incredible amounts of exposure. Now, why is that fair? The answer is it's not fair. But that's life. It's more representative of what is normative now than ever before.
Yeah. Well, and I think, too, one of the things that encourages me is at least with the internet, you get a shot, whereas before you may not have ever had the opportunity. Now you have that opportunity.
Yeah, it's very egalitarian. Everyone's on the same level, and that's what we try to promote, and that's what you guys try to promote. Is we're nothing special. We're not, a fringe case that just got lucky. We're normal people, just like you, you and I, and we're just trying to see if we can provide value to others. And if it sticks, it sticks. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But heck, we're having fun along the way.
That's right.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we're kindred spirits here. So let's go back to blogging. We've watched blogging just explode over the last few years. I'm just curious what your own feeling about that. Has it peaked? Do you think it's going to continue to go higher? I mean, where are we in just the whole evolution of this, or do we even know yet?
That's a great question. The short answer is I'm not sure. But for certain, the art of publishing, whether it is physical publishing or digital publishing, will always be with us. We have a message to share, whether it's spiritual, whether it's not spiritual. People have an interest, a personal as well as a global interest, on sharing information. Yeah. And as long as we maintain a course of providing the most value, finding the right tools to leverage that message, then I don't think it'll ever go away. Blogging is just one particular time or one particular way of doing that in this, space and time. We can call it something else 10 years later, and it'll probably be the same thing. It's just, I have an idea. I want to share it with you. What is the way that I get to publish it to get it to you? And so I think it's still just on the cusp of doing great things.
One of the questions we've got in the chat room, and since we were just talking about your income, I'll go ahead and ask it, is one of the guys in the chat room, he's a part-time pastor, is blogging and is looking to make some income. How do you keep all that legal and report all that on your taxes?
For sure. I definitely go into some detail about making sure you're buttoned up. I think you should. The internet allows a lot of, I would say flexibility is not the right word, but a lot of opportunity to not report things. Right. I think you should. I think it's just the right thing to do. And although you might have a different perspective on Uncle Sam, I think the law is there to keep you safe as best that they possibly can. But of course, just like any other income statement, you're just going to put that on your tax return as a different source of income. Now, if you start a business, which many eventually do, either an LLC or an S corp, you would file it, under those. I'm not a tax expert or a legal expert by any stretch of the imagination, so please see your accountants and controllers for more information. But for certain, in the beginning, as you begin to experiment with making an income, as you begin to test the water, so to speak, I wouldn't worry so much about that. the moment you start making some significant figures, then for sure you should ask your local accountant.
Right. Who are some bloggers that have inspired you not only in your faith but also in your blogging business?
I wouldn't be able to pinpoint anyone in particular, but I'll tell you a type and a class of blogger that really inspires me and that continues to inspire me. It's any blogger that has uniquely discovered their voice and continues to write out of that voice regardless of circumstance or context or the changes of technology. They have distinctly discovered, hey, this is who I am. There's a level of confidence there, and this is what I do. And there's an art and a science of focus. And those people inspire me because just like myself and many of you guys here and those who are listening, you guys are entrepreneurs. You guys are constantly thinking about new opportunities, new ideas, new projects or businesses. And but to keep it all sequestered, to keep it all focused is very difficult. And so as I read other bloggers who have managed to maintain that focus, continue to create value in the same avenues, and who aren't getting stale, that inspires me to make sure my message is as simple as possible. That's not complex, and then I'm continuing to innovate in the small areas that I'm really good at instead of experimenting wildly, kind of in this buckshot fashion,
right.
By testing too many waters. So there's one person in particular that really inspired me early on. I can't pronounce his last name, Leo Babautu. I'm going to butcher that. But
Laporte?
Yeah.
Leo Laporte?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Zen Habits. And I remember encountering his blog just from his design, zenhabits.net, I suppose. And he inspired me because he just had a very simple message. Hey, I want to live a life free of weight. I want to live a life that is focused on the things that matter, my family, and the things that I enjoy, my kids. And I'm just going to keep writing. I love this art of writing. And for a while, as I began writing back in the mid-'90s, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had no idea what I wanted to write about, why I was writing. But as I focused my efforts, I found a lot of solace in the way that he was doing it. Hey, I'm just one guy, but I'm writing about a very particular thing, and I want to keep doing it. And he's kept doing it, and he's been very successful.
So would you say for you didn't really find your voice until you had already started putting content and writing out there? Do you think a lot of people maybe kind of get it backwards, that they think, well, I can't start writing until I really find my voice. I can't start putting stuff out there until I really, talk a little bit about that process for you in finding your voice. Or,
this really rubs shoulders very nicely with personal branding, which I'm a huge fan of.
Right.
Personal branding is less rigid than most people believe. This idea that you have to have a really good idea of who you are and your brand, because it never changes before you go launch out into the internet and start blogging, and I think that's a bunch of bull. We as people, we are constantly evolving, and so should our brand. It's okay to experiment, to try something and say, hey, you know what, that didn't work, I'm going to revert back, or I'm going to try this with this piece of technology, and hey, that didn't really work well, so we'll take that back, or hey, that did really work well, and I'm going to go even more in depth. For example, to take myself as an example, recently I closed down my Facebook account. I did that, I guess, last week, I suppose, so that's very recent. And I'm still getting, and it probably will for a very long time, lots of email on both sides of the fence where you're a complete idiot and fool. Like, why would you do that? And while there's some emails I wish more than the other side who say, hey, that's awesome, I've been thinking about that for a while, and I think I'm going to follow in your footsteps. That post wasn't meant to be prescriptive at all. It was just sharing my particular perspective on how to continue to focus my efforts. And it's part of my personal branding idea that I'm going to try a world and a context and be in a culture where I'm not a part of the Facebook conversation. I have no idea what that's like, but because I've never tried it. And see how it is. I'm going to see how people respond, and I'm going to see if I can continue to provide value in the ways that I feel I can provide value the best, but in a more focused manner. So I might be wrong, but I may be right as well.
It's interesting. When you said you closed down your Facebook, it made me think of there's a website called The Verge, and you really have three guys that went together: Nilay Patel.
Yeah, Paul Miller and Joshua Topolsky.
Yeah,
Wow.
Paul Miller. He's decided to get off the internet for a whole year, and for him it is an experiment. Now he continues to write articles about that, and The Verge posts those. But here again, it is this willingness to jump out here and just see, especially with Paul Miller. I mean, his whole life over the past few years has been very integrated with the internet, and so he just wanted to step away to say, okay, what does it look like when my life isn't social through the internet anymore? What does that then look like? I'm curious about your thoughts about this. In the midst of experimenting, you still have to come back to the core of who you are, though, right? I'm just thinking with our show, because we're very much tied up with the convergence of technology and theology. How does my faith inform technology? How does technology inform my faith? So while we try different things, we come back to this convergence of the two things. I mean, don't you think you have to continue to come back to the core?
Absolutely. And I love that. I love your particular mission statement because it allows you the flexibility to experiment. Yeah. The biggest gift that you can give to your listeners is the gift of going first. Is, hey, we're testing out this convergence of technology and theology and spirituality, and you might not be brave enough, but we will. We're going to see what it's like to do X or do Y or do Z, and if we get it wrong, at least we went first, so that when you try it or when you begin to think about it, you won't do it as poorly. And that's what stops most people is, hey, I've created a brand, I've created a mission statement, but now I'm so locked into the rigidity of making sure that mission statement is buttoned up in every level of my execution that I'm unwilling to try something new.
Yeah.
And for example, I'll tell you the biggest area that I've gotten the most flack about is in Twitter, because I will experiment with different tools and technologies for acquiring followers or for completely dropping followers. I will go nuclear and delete my list and then ramp back up and then nuke it again. And my idea behind that is just simply experimentation. How am I growing my follower list? How am I providing the most value? And I'm sorry it's at the cost of some people's feelings, which I have gotten some crazy emails about how I've literally, up until, become apostate, really, that they have blocked me and unfriended me, and they don't want to meet with me in the real life. It's just really sad, and I am very apologetic as best as I can. But at the end of the day, I point them back to the idea of, hey, I'm going first, and you can blame me for going in the line of fire, which I'm more than happy to take that blame. But I need to try.
Yeah, that's good.
We had to do that when we changed times, guys like Steven.
Yeah.
Never watch you again. No, I'm teasing you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we had we were on Wednesdays for 3 years.
Yeah.
Wednesdays at noon, and
it's
we stuck to
just that little bit of change. Like, people just don't like change.
Yeah, it's like, oh no,
at all.
All right, hey, let's shift gears a little bit. Talk about 8-bit. Now, your motto is, we don't make video games, we just work like we're playing one. How did 8-bit come about, and what's your vision for the company going forward?
8-bit has an interesting background, a very interesting history, but one that's becoming more normative, especially if you're doing an online startup. It really was the genesis. The genesis was really a number of people coming together via online technology. For example, my first partner, Chris, he was a commenter on my blog way back in the late 90s, and I thought he was a troll. And tried to declare him as a spammer. Started a conversation on the comment layer of one of my blogs, and long story short, he became one of my best friends. I moved my family of 4 into his basement to bootstrap this company.
Wow.
And so that's how closely we became friends. And then Tom and Jared, I did some work together on some contracts, and we became friends. And then that was really via Twitter. And then Tom was a relationship that Chris and I had via Twitter as well, and through some blog comments on another blog. And he eventually became our chief architect and technical co-founder. So what's happening, though, is the internet allows us to really isolate and find unique talent in particular areas. And being the founder of a company, that's one of my highest priorities, is how can I find people who are bought into the vision, first and foremost, but second, who love to do what they do naturally and best.
Yeah.
And the internet allows us to cut through that because they're only posting stuff that they're incredibly excited about or passionate about. And so I was able to find that talent, that latent talent. And then since we shared the same vision, since we shared a lot of the same kind of ethics, and we all go to the same church or different campuses, but the same larger organization, it made sense. And so then we started working together more formally and became a business officially a couple years ago.
Now, go ahead.
I'm saying that's just been a very interesting story, and it's one that, 5 or 10 years ago, that would have been outrageous. How can you possibly partner with someone, from the comment layer of a blog? But now it's much more normative, where you're beginning to develop these deep relationships, and just so happens you guys coalesce around a particular project or business idea, then that reality is becoming very possible.
One of the things you do with 8-Bit is you've produced the standard WordPress theme, which is used by so many huge name bloggers. Michael Hyatt uses it. Great, easy to use theme. And you guys also acquired the live theme. Talk a little bit about how, if somebody's starting out blogging or a church wants to use the live theme to broadcast their services, how can individuals and churches use WordPress and these themes to get their message out?
A small correction, we built Live Theme, but it was actually acquired.
Okay.
One of the neat things, we actually built our business around Standard Theme, and then we adopted a very typical model of building out multiple themes to try to increase sales and the business as a whole. But over time, we realized that it was far better if we focused all our efforts on one product and became a one-product shop rather than dilute our efforts around a number of things. And so we began looking for private buyers on the rest of our theme lines and was successful in actually selling off all of our theme lines except Standard. And Standard has been an incredible success. We don't take it for granted for sure, but we're now partners with Automatic, the founders of WordPress.
Wow.
And became partners with them earlier this year, and that was an incredible opportunity for us as a business, but also for a bottom line, if I'm being honest. And so we've been able to grow organically. We've been able to win some seed capital from a local organization here.
Wow.
So we had some round of financing about a month or so ago, and we're growing, and it's a lot of fun. And it's just, when you get to work with people that you love, when you get to work on projects that you love, why would you want to do anything else?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, you've also started Action and Influence, where your mission is to unleash the power and potential of individuals for their teams. Now, we communicated with you earlier that our audience is primarily pastors, church leaders. What are some of the tools, assessments, coaching you offer that the local church would greatly benefit from?
One of the things that happens, and especially in the church context, I was on staff at a large church here in Georgia for 2 years, so I'm very familiar with the challenges of resourcing and personnel, is you don't have much time and you certainly don't have any resources to waste. And so the best thing that you can do as a leader, as a pastor, is make sure that you're maximizing the existing strengths within your team to their utmost. The problem, or rather the challenge, is that most people aren't naturally fitted for some of the roles and the responsibilities that you've given them.
Yeah.
It wouldn't take much of a poll for you as a leader to ask your staff, if they were to be honest and transparent, how is it like to be in the current roles and responsibilities as they are today? And after you mess through the clutter and maybe a little of the humility, they would say, we don't really like it, or I'm having issues here, or this job responsibility is a terrible idea for me because I'm not good with detail. I'm actually much more of a people person, and I don't know why that half of my week is spent in accounting. And you as a leader, it's your opportunity and your responsibility to steward those strengths and those natural inclinations toward a role that is best suited to them. And so we provide a tool which allows you to actually see some of those things in real time.
Great.
Consulting, which helps provide that consult and that advice to move them in the right space. This is a combination of my efforts, my 2 master's degree at Dallas Seminary, and my twin brother's 3 masters in counseling and theology and a master's divinity, I think. And I'm actually in his basement right now, and that's where we're kind of starting and incubating this business. But and so it's a combination of our passions for people. And at the end of the day, we love technology, as you guys love technology. We love theology. We have a theological mindset about everything we do. But at the end of the day, it's about people. Yeah. We helping people find greater satisfaction in doing the work that they've been asked to do. And unfortunately, most people that we engage with, the answer is no. I'm not enjoying it. I don't feel satisfaction. And that's unfortunate, because I think we have a limited time, limited space. I think God wants us to be satisfied with our work.
Very good.
Where can people go online to kind of start the whole process with Action and Influence?
Simple. It's myai.org. And so myai.org.
And where else can our listeners find you online?
I have a strategic personal landing page, or branding page, if you will. It's JnJ John.do. And you'll find links to everything that I'm involved with right now. And of course, there's always a couple things in stealth mode that I can't share yet.
Oh, come on. You can release it on our show. Go ahead. Just tell us. We won't tell anybody.
Well, you guys know me. I can't keep a secret. So. John, thank you so much for being on the show today, but also for what you're doing. John's been kind enough. He's just released recently 2 ebooks. One of them is the Blogging Starter Kit, and the other one is Making Money Blogging. And so 2 lucky people are going to win a copy of those over this next week. That's our next contest. But John, we just thank you so much again for being with us today, and God bless you and finishing up your 2 masters and in everything you're doing.
Yeah, blessings on you, John.
Hey, thanks for letting me join you guys. Great setup. I would love to visit at least some point.
All right.
All right,
man.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Guys.
All right. So we talked right at the top of the show. We're in the new studio, the new day, the new everything. Also, new website. I'd like for Matthew to say something about that. I just love the layout of that, and maybe talk about some of the changes.
Give me just a minute longer. Talk about your studio first while I set stuff up.
This is the studio.
Yeah, I'm going to try to switch to that. Yeah.
Listen, the biggest. You're crazy, man. I was kidding around with Heath this morning. I said the biggest problem I had was trying to decide if I was going to put a pro wrestler's picture back.
That's right. I had one he could have put up.
But this is the studio. Tony did a lot of work to make this happen, and I mean, literally gave the space. We're literally in your home, right?
Yes.
So
Upstairs,
we're running this right out of your house. But there it is. You got a lot of nice pictures behind you.
We have some vintage hardware.
Vintage hardware, right? We've got 128K, the original Macintosh.
There it
is,
is,
right back there on top of the radio, which is pretty cool. I've been working on it, trying to get it to where we can put our show logo on it, so that during the show we can turn it on. And but it is so hard to get stuff onto and off of that machine. You have no idea. And then behind Heath, there's Tony's first real computer, his Atari 520 ST.
That's right.
That served you for many years and is a classic piece of hardware. Along with
on the Mayflower.
Steve Stanley's cell phone. He gave us that to put in there.
This cell phone, I would pick it up and show it to you a little closer, but it weighs 82 pounds.
That's right.
And Heath, you wanted to put a book up that I wouldn't let you put on the shelf there.
That's right.
Let's
The Idiot's Guide to Pro Wrestling.
Oh, man.
But it's great to be in this room. It really is. So it's going to help us out a lot.
Talk about the website a little bit.
Yeah, so the website. So while Tony's been working hard doing this room, I've been for the past few weeks working on the site, getting it changed and revamped. It's really been about a 3-week process to get stuff changed. So you'll see stuff looks different. Everything is, it's there. And we've got some new features that go along with it. What we're going to be trying to do, we talked about blogging this morning. What we're going to be trying to do is not just bring you episodes once a week, but on occasion, when there's something that's going on for us in our minds about whatever it will be, we can also post articles here. So what you'll see is if you go to the website, the first thing that you see is, well, the logo, then there's the menu bar, which looks very similar to the last one. Then there's a sliding image thing that runs through some of the most recent and interesting things that are going on. But if you go down a little further, there's two columns. One says recent episodes, and the other says latest articles. Episodes are our shows that will get posted there, and you can go watch them from there. Articles are those things that we'll write, and just other content that we'll put up. So Heath was talking about, sometimes there's things that we don't get to cover in the show, aren't there? Where we have to skip them because we've literally run out of time, but it's interesting stuff and fun stuff to talk about. So that's what that's about, and it's all there. There's 2 articles already up, and we're waiting. We're about to have a third.
You have done a fabulous job
amazing.
with that.
Beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Well, thank
Beautiful.
you.
It's great to look at. It's well. And 2 of the best articles I've ever seen posted are up there right now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The content, the quality of content when I post Heath might take a dip, but it's but just on occasion we'll do that. And here's the other thing too that's been rolling around in my mind. There may be times when some of you, our listeners, in your own personal blogs or whatever, really have something of quality to say, and we may ask you or contact you, or you're welcome to contact us and say, hey, this is something that's been rolling around in my mind, and we may want to cross-post that and give you a platform on our site to be a guest writer, to say, wow, this is a really good thought or some really good content. So, and you'll see stuff like that. We're hoping to get Steve Stanley involved in this a little bit. Sometimes when he's rolling around stuff in his mind or stuff that he's done, he's got some great content that we need to be able to share. So that's what it is. Yeah.
Very good. All right. Well, and we hope that.
And in this studio, you get to see the back of my head, which keeps me up. When the chat room's been talking about how they'll know first if I'm going bald. If I go for Tony's hairstyle, the chat room will be the first to know.
See, way better that they see the back of your head than the back of my head.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Well, let's move on to
what just happened.
What? I see the graphic.
I know, but there's no
download of the week.
Here, let's try this one more time. Here we go. Now it's time for. There we go.
Download of the week.
I thought you did a good job on the A part there.
Yeah.
We probably could go live.
You said I screamed like a little girl.
All right. Hey, Tej, our download of the week is Canine Web Protection. What is it?
Yeah, well, the article that I put up actually is just talking about how to keep yourself safe as you're using the internet. You can run into all kinds of dangerous stuff. And, Canine is a filtering program that you can install on. It's a system level thing, so you got to do it computer by computer. Okay. It runs on Mac, Windows. They have browsers for iPhone, iPad, Android phones, all that kind of stuff. And it's a level of accountability and a level of filtering. We always think about pornography when we talk about web filtering and stuff like that. But just this past Sunday, we were talking, you and I were, with an individual who had run into a virus on their computer, a ransom virus. Yep. It literally had locked down their computer. When they tried to use it and they'd go to a website, it would throw up this message that said, the FBI is investigating you for something. You need to pay them $200, go to this site to do it, and then we'll let you browse the web again. He didn't.
It also controlled his webcam, so when his webcam was on and you could see himself, and so gave the impression that they were looking at him.
That they were watching him, yeah. So, I mean, just a crazy virus. Now, I don't know where he picked that up, but there's a lot of places on the internet that are sketchy. And you can go.
That may be
the understatement of the year.
Today. There are some things on the internet that are sketchy.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not just talking strictly about pornography. I mean, there is. Right. And a pornographic website will also oftentimes just be loaded down with stuff that's going to get installed on your computer and whatever. But it doesn't even have to be that. It can be other stuff. So if you, the article that I wrote was about, not contracting digital dysentery, talking about how the internet's like the Wild West, and we're traveling on the Oregon Trail. We need a guide and someone who knows the way and who can say, no, that's not a good way to go. Don't go down that alley. That's dangerous. So not just for pornography, but for these kinds of things, this filtering service will stop you. If you're headed somewhere where it knows and recognizes, wait a minute, this is not a good place for you to be. There's danger here for you. This alerts you to that and lets you know about that and keeps you from running into this. Nothing's going to be 100% perfect, but there are tools that you can set up to help you. This is one. It's great for accountability. It's great for keeping you safe. And I also mentioned OpenDNS and using that as kind of like building a wall around your home, setting up a fortress so that as you're accessing the internet, it helps too. But that's a totally different conversation. And go read. Don't read Death by Digital Dysentery.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's keep it rolling here. Time for They Said It.
They Said It. Yeah, man, I'm behind on all this. All right, here we go.
Read my lips.
I'm going to say this again.
I've never taken steroids or HGH.
I took the initiative in creating the internet.
The Macintosh, of all the machines I've ever seen, is the only one that meets that standard.
I'm not a crook.
If you know what you're doing here, slide out.
There isn't a leader on the planet that rolled out of bed this morning and said, "Dear Lord, I would love to just blow it today. Would you please allow me to make a mistake so huge that I never want to show my face again?" Amen. No one wants to make a mistake, but we do. Two things to keep in mind regarding this. Perry Noble from his article, 9 Things Every Leader Struggles With and How to Overcome Them. Source, The Christian Post.
Others argue that no rapist would ever seek parental rights. Not only does my experience and that of others I know prove otherwise, but it is not surprising that a man who cruelly degrades a woman would also seek to torture her in an even more agonizing way by seeking access to her child. Shauna Pruitt, who became pregnant after she was raped, gave birth to the child, and then had to fight her rapist in court after he filed for sole custody of the child. Source, CNN.
I say to the grown-ups, if you want to deny evolution and live in your world, that's completely inconsistent with the world we observe. That's fine. But don't make your kids do it, because we need them. We need scientifically literate voters and taxpayers for the future. We need engineers that can build stuff and solve problems. Bill Nye, the Science Guy, speaking out against the notion that the universe was created. Source, CNN.
The main practical benefit, albeit still a niche one, is that a manufacturer could technically offer a Windows 7 disk in the box with a new Windows 8 machine and give customers a choice of OS.
Amen.
Kenny Chan explained that customers may have the option to downgrade from Windows 8 to Windows 7 when they buy a new PC in the future. Source, Engadget.
Hey, before we get into the discussion on all of these, again, a reminder to our chat room. We're giving away a $20 gift card to you today. So these guys are going to be talking about all this stuff for a minute, but what you can do is right below where you're watching this video. It's right down there. Head down that page, and there's a spot where it says, hey, giving away an Amazon $20 gift card. Leave a comment here to enter. Leave your comment there. I'm collecting those, accruing all those together, and probably about 12/4/50 we'll be done. So you don't have much longer. Make it happen.
All right. Okay, so several stories here. Let's just zoom to the first one you did, Heath. This is one by Perry Noble, his article, 9 Things That Every Leader Struggles With and How to Overcome Them. There's one thing that jumped out at me on this article, but let's just go ahead and real quick, we'll just read the 9 things that he points out here.
Here we go. Number 1, feeling adequate.
Number 2, pride.
Number 3, people-pleasing.
Number 4, delegation.
Number 5, jealousy of other leaders.
Number 6, confronting people when necessary.
Number 7, insecurity.
Number 8, failure.
Number 9, confidence.
Here's what I loved about this article. He mentioned a book that I have loved for years, and it's John Maxwell's book, Failing Forward.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we think of all these things that Maxwell has written, the indisputable laws of leadership. But to me, my favorite book of his is Failing Forward. And the premise of the book is this. If we're afraid to fail,
right,
we probably won't exceed. And so he documents people that we look as huge successes. And what he documents is their failures before they ever became successful. And then, the rest of this, I mean, some of these, to me, I don't know what your reaction was, Heath, but some of these are just common sense.
Right.
I mean, you identify with these.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even as we're reading this list, I'm like, yep. Yeah.
Yeah, like confronting people when necessary, knowing when it's necessary.
Yeah.
Once you have figured out it's necessary, how do we do that?
And you have to do that while pleasing people at the same time. So that's a difficult thing.
Feeling adequate, that was an interesting one to me. In other words, the idea of thinking that you can pull this off and that you don't need the power of the Lord. And I think that's probably a temptation.
I found it, and I don't know if he did these. Maybe he did these in a particular order. But the first one is feeling adequate, and the exact opposite of that, which is pride. So there's this balance of knowing that you're called and that God's going to equip you, and then on the other hand, knowing that God has to equip you. That is this delicate balance.
Well, if in ministry, it's a great article. The first one that I read, this is something I had no idea about. A friend of mine put me onto this, that you have rapists. Well, first, in cases of rape in this country, we don't have a lot of studies, but it appears that about 30% of those who are raped and become pregnant will carry that pregnancy to full term and keep the baby. What I wasn't aware of is that in many cases, these rapists will file for custody, either joint custody or sole custody of the child. This happened to Shauna Pruitt. Shauna, as a result, pursued law, became a lawyer, and now she's moving to try to get legislation in states so that if you are a rapist, that you can't even go to the courts and try to sue for custody of a child. In her case, her rapist, he didn't sue for joint custody.
Right.
He sued for full custody of that child. So she had to go to court. She had to fight it.
Wow.
Now in this case, all of his parental rights were denied, and so she never has to worry about it again. Her point is this: that I was victimized twice.
Right. And this story has come out with Todd Aiken comments and all the talk about rape and whatnot, and just So that whole thing, this whole issue is coming to the front, and it's good to see someone like Shauna Pruitt who's experienced that. It's good to hear her voice in this whole issue. And
she's got, and the story we link you to is CNN's story. They also have a video on there, which is her speaking. Very informative. Okay, so Bill Nye, the science guy.
Bill Nye, the science guy.
I don't know where, when growing up, we didn't have cable. Not a lot of people had cable. Was Bill Nye on ABC?
He was PBS.
Public television.
PBS. Bill Nye,
Public
the science
television.
guy.
My kids
PBS.
watched Bill Nye.
Oh, man, I grew up with Bill Nye.
Yeah, great.
And he was
Love the show.
Fascinating.
Must
Yeah,
have
it's
never-
the kind of guy you'd want to hear talk about terminal velocities of the moon or whatever it was. I mean,
I knew about, I don't know that I ever actually watched the show, but I knew about the show and knew that he was, he was popular with the kids. But after this comment, not so popular with their parents.
Well, I pulled out in this whole article, you can disagree, and so you can have this debate about this, whether the universe created, whether it's simply the product of evolution. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But I pulled out what I thought was the most disturbing comment in the whole article. And that is, okay, parents, you can believe that stuff if you want to, but please don't strap your kids down with it. Basically is what he's saying.
And he's saying that
just chills me, man.
That creation, he believes, is completely inconsistent with the world we observe. And that, to me, is... I obviously don't agree with that. But to say, he's implying here... He says we need scientifically literate voters and taxpayers, and he's basically saying if you believe in creation, that you're not scientifically
you're going to shortchange the culture,
right?
Basically, that's what he's saying.
And he's basically saying that a Christian engineer who believes in creation would be incapable of building stuff or solving problems. And I would say
he's implying that.
Yes. He's definitely.
Yeah, I think that there are
implying
several levels here. Like it's not that we don't like Bill Nye the Science Guy,
Right.
but we just the way he's unpacked this, there's just several points here we just fundamentally disagree with.
Right, and I'm wondering where Bill Nye's been out of the he from my vantage point been out of the spotlight for quite a bit. I don't think
He's had
still
talk recently of bringing his show back, and so
Right.
I wonder if this is part of that. I don't know.
Well, and the best way to bring a show back is to alienate half of the American population. That's a great,
Well, I hope that I hope our reaction isn't to say, well, his show, like if you look at past
Right.
episodes,
Oh
it's
no,
not
it's so worthwhile.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
very
yeah.
educational.
Oh,
for
man.
kids. It's just on this issue we just
For
disagree
kids, nothing. It's educational for 27-year-olds. I love it.
I'm not 27 anymore.
All right, the last one here. So I don't know how many people are paying attention to Windows 8 and its release, which
Yep.
is coming up here.
It sounds
the
like
next few
Microsoft is just full of confidence about how well that thing's going to do out of the gate.
weeks. So now when you came in today, you didn't quite get this story because you haven't seen Windows 8
Right.
yet.
You're like, who would want to do that? Windows 8, it's got to be better than Windows 7, right? Oh, my
man.
word.
Wait till you see Windows 8 on the desktop.
Well, explain to the viewing public why you say that.
Windows 8 is designed as a touch interface.
Yeah.
And so on a tablet, I think it looks spectacular. I have held a Windows phone. I've used that. I've gone to the Microsoft store. Love it, love it, love it.
Wait, where's their Microsoft store around here?
Chicago. So then I loaded Windows 8 on a laptop. And so imagine taking your iPad, but you can't interact with it by touch. You have to do it all through a keyboard or your touchpad.
Yeah.
And that is what the experience is like. It's like, oh, no, no. And what they're trying to do is get the same experience whether you're on their phone, on the desktop, or on their tablet, the Surface tablet.
They're trying to make a technological leap forward.
Yes.
They're trying to land somewhere ahead of the rest of the world, which has worked for this other fruit company.
Yes.
As they imagine what the world's going to be
Skate
like.
to where the puck is going to be.
Yes.
Worked
yes.
for Wayne
Analogy
Gretzky.
Yes.
Works for that certain fruit company, and now they're trying to get in that as well. Yeah.
This is where my thinking is. I remember when.
And okay, I'm sorry. Commenting in the chat room, it has a classic interface that you can switch to. Yes, it does. But it still isn't like it's a complete relearning experience.
There's no
it took
start
me.
button in the
I
classic.
don't consider myself, and maybe I am. Maybe I am technologically inept. But I feel like I installed Ubuntu the other day on a machine. I haven't used Ubuntu now in a couple of iterations, so they've redesigned how that looks.
Yep.
Very easily, I knew exactly where to go to find stuff. I don't consider myself to be just too technologically inclined. It took me 20 minutes to find the control panel in Windows 8. You were there when I was trying to do it.
As well.
I had it was such a paradigm shift, but not even like you talk about a paradigm shift. I went from a Windows machine to an OS 10 machine, and I knew how to get to it. It was easy to figure out. Okay, this is where I go to manage my system settings. It took me so long to figure out where that stinking thing was. I just was. I want to see Heath do it. I really do. I'd like for us 1 week as an experiment to right when we start the show to swap out your laptops and just see how you'd run on Windows 8.
I'll try to do that. I'll format. I got a disk or a hard drive that I can pull out of the present computer, put it in, format it with Windows 8.
And there you go. Now again, in the comment in the chat room, they're getting it right. Trey Bentley says on his touchscreen notebook, it's beautiful.
Oh,
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, it is. But on a laptop without that, it has to have that touch interface in order for that paradigm to translate.
I remember when we went from XP to Vista, and that wasn't a huge leap because the interface was still pretty same. The hardest thing about that leap for me was the change in Microsoft Office from whatever that year was, XP to Vista. That was they completely changed the interface on
Right,
Microsoft Office.
right.
But and so that was
But
primarily
but wait
documents
now, wait.
I was
The
using.
other leap for that was getting used to the crash every 2 or 3
Yeah,
times
I mean,
in a day.
and so I say all that to say and so a lot of people bought a new computer. I mean, there are websites devoted to telling you how to get back on XP and take Vista off your Vista. Take that off your computer to get back to XP, and now it's like Apple has. I mean, it's like Microsoft has not learned the lesson.
Well, we're veering from
the
the story. I emailed this. I forwarded this story to Matthew yesterday and said this is a good thing because if my mom was going out to buy a computer, or my stepmom, and they said, "Okay, what do I need to do here, Tony?" I would say right away, find the manufacturer who has the downgradable disk. That's who you want to buy from. I wouldn't even waste 1 second on trying to teach them Windows 8. Windows 7 to me is the best OS out there. Now you say, okay, well, why do you have an Apple? Because I think that with hardware and OS, this is the best experience because they control both.
You don't practice.
And I think that as a longtime Apple user, when you saw Windows 7, you're like, oh, this looks familiar. Because my dad got a new laptop. I went over there, and I'm thinking, man, it's Windows 7. And I'm looking like, your dock is at the top of your page instead of the bottom. I'm like, I can show you how to do all this. So
his dock's at the top. That was just the product manufacturer who did that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just telling you.
That was bloatware.
That
was bloatware, man. Must have been a Dell.
No.
All righty.
It was a Staples special.
Yeah, Staples special. All right, so Tej, let's talk a moment here. We have a $20 giveaway in the chat room
I'm working
today.
it up right now. So can we give people the last call, okay? And I will when my clock, that's my clock, not your clock. When my clock says 12:55, it's done, and I'll have you the winner, okay?
All righty. Okay, let's plow forward here and talk about what's coming up in the future. So on September the 11th, we have Heath. Who is this?
We have Tim Stevens, the executive pastor from Granger Community Church. We're going to be talking about his book, Vision Lost and Found, and we're going to be giving away a copy of this book. This is an absolutely phenomenal book of the 5-year journey of really Granger rediscovering who they were and charting a new course. It's almost like you're a fly in the wall, very easy to read, and we'll talk about more of that next week.
All right, September the 18th, we have both Matt Leroy and Jeremy Summers who will join us to talk about their book Awakening Grace. We have that, and we'll be giving that away as well.
And it's autographed by them.
All right, not us.
Yeah, right.
Very good, Heath. Also, you have another book there for the September 25th show.
Yes, Preaching Essentials by Lenny Lucetti from Wesley Seminary, and if you're not reading his blog or following him, just phenomenal stuff.
All right, and then October the 2nd, really looking forward to Rachel Held Evans, A Year of Biblical Womanhood, and we're going to be giving that book away as well. October the 9th, Claire Diaz Ortiz, she works for Twitter, going to be talking about her book, Twitter for Good. This is a show especially for the church because she talks about nonprofits, how you can raise funds, how you can get the word out there about your church or your nonprofit. Also, October the 16th, we have Dan and Joy Urban who are going to be joining us in studio. They are the directors of the Caribbean Atlantic for the Wesleyan Church. Have been in Haiti for a number of years, and looking forward to just talking to them and their work there. Also, October the 23rd, we have Dr. Timothy Tennant. He is the president of Asbury Theological Seminary. And then October 30th, Dr. James Emery will talk to us about his book, What They Didn't Teach You in Seminary.
Yeah, James Emery White.
Yeah, what did I say?
James Emery. Yeah, just if you're going to find him, if you're going to be out there and search around, James Emery White.
Yeah, very good. All right.
You still got 2 minutes. Sorry. I was trying to wrap this thing up so early. Let's see, what can we talk about?
I'm sorry.
Well, we can talk about November 6th. We got Sean Lovejoy, author of The Measure of Our Success, giving that book away from churchplanners.com and the pastor of Mountain Lake Church. November 20th, our annual visit, and she's in Tony's background.
Yeah, there she is.
Dr. Joanne Lyon. And excited to have her on.
What are the qualifications to make the wall behind you?
The number one qualification to get on the wall behind me is there has to be a good public domain picture that's high quality.
Okay, so if we had like viewers send high quality headshots of themselves, is there a chance that they could make it up on the wall behind you?
1 in a million. So I'm saying there is a chance.
There is a chance. So be sure to do that. Print out an 8x10 high quality headshot of yourself. Mail it to Tony, and it may make it on the wall behind you. Yeah.
Would you know a public? I wanted to put Billy Graham's picture up there, but I had a hard time finding a public domain. Some of these, I found pictures where I found it was ubiquitous. A lot of websites used it, so you kind of figure out, okay, this is a picture that's probably safe to use. I had to do that on 2 or 3 of these. Others, it was clear it was public domain. You could grab it. But I was really disappointed. I mean, it was hard to find a good one of Billy Graham.
And what else was I going to say? Something about guests that were coming up. I can't remember, but it's time for the giveaway. Oh, the giveaway for this week, not this gift card to our chat room, which we're about to do, but there are also ebooks. If you weren't here with us at the beginning of the show, John Saddington was with us, and he's giving away a copy of each of his ebooks.
Yep.
So go to our website, thetechnologyshow.com/giveaway. It'll be there this afternoon, and you can enter to win.
Yep, 2 people will win a copy of each book.
So 4 things that were given away, but to 2 people. So very good. And announce real quick as I hit this randomly generate button the winners of those books from today, because I think one of the viewers is in the chat room now.
Yes, first the winner of First Impressions was Jeremiah Clements, and then the winner of How to Wow Your Church Guests was Seth Cotton.
So we need your addresses, and then we'll get those books out to you.
And the winner of the $20 Amazon gift card is our very own friend of the show.
No.
Yeah.
Everybody's a friend of the show.
Jeremy Gertis.
Yeah, Jeremy.
The randomizer brought out number 8, and you were number 8 there, Jeremy. So good job, sir.
Congratulations, Jeremy. Also, we don't have a solid date yet, but probably sometime in October we're going to after we do our interview, we're going to take the second half of the show to talk about gadgets for Christmas.
Yep.
And what we recommend. We're waiting for some announcements to come out from a few companies.
Yeah, there's a lot happening next week.
A fruit company, and then a distribution company.
I talked about that a little this morning on the Good Morning Show with David Gould. We talked about some upcoming gadgets.
Some upcoming gadgets from some scary ladies who live in the jungle. Amazonians.
Yes. Hey, speaking of those, I went to buy a Kindle Fire. They're sold out.
Why would you go to buy a Kindle Fire?
I'm just kidding. I was saying that was a segue.
I was going to fire you from this show. What in the world? Chat room, don't even get it used.
And I hear that BlackBerry next year they're updating their OS, so that's going to be...
Yeah, they've been announcing that it would be next year for 3 years now, I think it is. So
I've heard that the BlackBerry Torch is a phenomenal.
Yeah.
We're not.
All right, we're done. Let's get out of here.
All righty. Well, listen, again, next week's guest is Tim Stevens from Granger Community Church, and if you got a question for him, please email us at thetechnologyshow@gmail.com, or do this. Give us a call and leave us a voicemail there. If you have a question for Tim Stevens, and we'll be sure to ask that on the air. Our number is 3049-TEOLOGY. Heath, where can our listeners find you on the internet?
They can find me at heathmullican.com.
Brother TG.
Yeah, MatthewTG.com for me. I'll take you everywhere you want to be.
Find me at Facebook.com/AKC64. And if you want to do further research on anything we discussed today, you can find all the links to the stories we covered at our website, thetechnologyshow.com. As always, thanks for joining us. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Adios.
Oh, I forgot to cue this up.
And now we are off the air.